All right, so it's 1 p.m., a couple minutes after 1 p.m. Eastern time here in the US. So wherever you are in the world, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, or anywhere else, any other countries, thank you very much, any other time zones, thank you very much for joining us, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I'm excited about today's one because in my personal opinion, the topic of discussion today is maybe the most difficult to teach, the most difficult to grasp, and the most difficult to implement. Unlike maybe some previous live classes that we've done, where you can maybe learn, maybe more intuitively yourself through just. I just got a note that the sound is not good. So if there's anyone, the sound, Aaron, you can hear me, right? Great. So I think the sound is working on my side, by the way. For the Syed who wrote the message on my side, I can see that the sound is working. So please check on your side. Sorry about that. If anyone else is also experiencing sound issues, please write it. Okay, so we have two here not hearing the sound. That's weird. I'm going to try and I'll exit and rejoin. Wait for me for 1 second. Okay, so the sound. Okay, so the sound is up. I got confirmation. So if anyone cannot hear me, please just make sure on your side, maybe try and exit the webinar and the live class and then rejoin. Maybe that'll work because I do have confirmation that the sound is working. I can see it here on my side, and our producer says it does work. So sorry if there's any issues there, but please make sure and check on your side. What I was saying for the people that can hear me for now is that this topic of mental fitness is an interesting one because it's so difficult to grasp. And once I met Aaron and we discussed on a previous podcast interview about the concept of mental fitness and how fluctuating our mental capacity is towards so many things that we take for granted in our lives. It's, let's say, and I think I gave this example, is if I haven't gone on a 10K run in 6 months, my body will not be able and capable of completing my usual 10K run after that long break. And we use that analogy in our discussion to try and bring to perspective some limitations that we as people face on a regular basis because of moments in our life where maybe our mental fitness is not at its highest point and we're expecting too much of ourselves at those moments, and we don't recognize that in those moments, that's when maybe we have to implement some very deliverable strategies that you can learn and implement on a daily basis to get you out of there, not necessarily out of there forever, but just recognizing it as getting you closer to that 10K analogy, to a place where you're able to really face these different things that you're facing and make sure that your mental fitness is at the right place for you to understand what you're able to challenge so that you can challenge them in the best way possible. I am honored to introduce Mr. Aaron Ridley. So I'm going to add you here to the stage, Aaron.
Hello. Sure. So maybe let's just start with the presentation. I've got an introduction slide in there anyway. So I'll start with that. But first, I always like to kind of, I guess, set the context of what we're doing. And Danny, you did that really well on what mental fitness is. To add some to that, I'd just like to add a few points. So mental fitness is much like your physical fitness, as mentioned with the 10K analogy. It really does require, practice, dedication, and resilience. It's about strengthening your mind's ability to handle the inevitable ups and downs that are going to come with life, and have that agility and confidence to move forward with what goes on in your life. So the session today that I've put together is designed to be interactive and engaging. So please feel free to speak up or get involved as and when you want to. And also looking at offering you guys insights and value, but also practical tools that you can use and things that you can take away to apply in your daily lives, in your corporate lives, in your personal lives, wherever. It's applicable to all areas of life. Additionally, as well, what we're going to do is go on a bit of a journey, and it's going to cover for what I call the 3 peaks of mental fitness. And each one of them is critical as a component for building, I guess, a mentally fit and fulfilling life. So today isn't just about listening to me talk for the next 30 minutes or so. It's about really engaging, reflecting, and also growing. I'm going to invite you to participate a little bit, maybe write some things down or take some notes, or even ask yourself some questions or ask me some questions, and to share your thoughts, but also really just embrace this together. Mental fitness is something that is really an important topic at the moment. Normally it's termed as mental well-being or mental health. And I think the world's getting a little bit fed up of those terms because we hear it and, people getting a little bit sick to death of it. But when you start to reframe things and looking at it differently, you can have a real shift in perspective about how you really interact with your own mental fitness and your own well-being. So I'll then just jump to a quick introduction as well. So I'm Aaron, as already mentioned. I am co-founder of a business called Tribox. I'm also the founder of a business called Mental Mastery as well. Both of those businesses operate in a very similar space, and we are the world's first in providing preventative education in mental well-being and mental fitness or mental performance. We focus primarily on 2 sectors at the moment, the corporate and the fitness sectors. So Tribox is our part of the business which focus on the fitness space, and the Mental Mastery is where it's more focused on the corporate sector and helping businesses engaging with their employees and reducing, I guess, time off sick and time off work there and helping the economies to build. A bit about my background. I'm an ex-professional athlete. I competed in both boxing and kickboxing and all over the UK and a little bit in Europe and even a little bit in the US too, where some of you are today, obviously. Equally as well, I'm a mindset leadership specialist, and I specialize in strategy, mental health and mental well-being too. So I do lots of stuff in this space. I've been a leadership coach for years. I have a master's in coaching and mentoring. I'm a certified coach by a number of different bodies. And I'm also a member of the Association of Business Mentors here in the UK, where I help business owners all over the country as part of a government-backed and led scheme for helping business owners to grow and to develop their business too through coaching and mentoring. And a massive space of that is around your mental fitness and the way you perform. And lastly, as well, I'm part of the board of directors for a large company here in the UK called Focus Fitness, and they're one of the leading education providers for fitness education here in the UK. Where they provide training for massage therapy, acupuncture, also about personal trainers as well, and giving the qualifications and certifications. And they're one of the only which is Ofsted led here in the UK, when they get their funding provided by them. So they're a massively well accredited body. So they provide lots of different stuff. But so let's get started anyway. We're going to jump straight in. But if anyone has any questions, drop them in on the chat, and I know Danny will let me know if any questions come in. But today. Oh, sorry.
Add myself to this day. I'll just add to that. So if anyone does have any questions, any points, anything that's important to mention, feel free to use the chat box. We have access to it and we can see it. We will open up the second half of this presentation to a more interactive one so that you can type in literally any questions you have or anything you want to bring up or share. So use this space as a safe space. Feel free to share your questions. None of this will be released with your name or anything like that. So feel free to make the most of this. And then just one more point to add is that the way this is framed is really to make it as ubiquitous as possible. It's not only for yourself. This mental fitness and mental understanding is not only for yourself. It's, anyone that's joined today, you have connections to so many people in your lives. And especially if you have the responsibility of overseeing someone, if you're a personal trainer or a massage therapist or a physical therapist and you're working with someone on a daily basis, so you'll learn a lot of interesting cues and strategies here that will help you develop those relationships and understand those relationships better.
Absolutely. And that's a great context to put this in too, because as I mentioned, our business Tribox is we provide a certification and qualification to personal trainers on exactly these topics. While this isn't taken from our modules, we just as a quick plug, we do have, I think, 16 hours worth of education and a specific course on mental fitness, well-being, and a whole load of other stuff as well. But this is a little bit different, and I think we add a load of value to you guys today, especially in those spaces. So I want to take you on a journey, as I mentioned, and the adventure really scales as you move through what I call the three peaks of mental fitness. So this journey is designed not just to explore, but also to empower you guys with the knowledge and the tools necessary to really kind of master the art of engaging, training, but also sustaining the most impactful elements of mental performance and fitness in your lives, and also the people you interact with, whether it's clients, friends, family. So as we go through these three peaks together, you'll start to discover that there's foundational and fundamental principles that only, I guess, promise not only to elevate numerous aspects of your own life, but really enrich those of the ones around you, as I mentioned, where that can be clients, friends, family. So this journey is much more than just self-improvement. It's really, I guess, a quest to unlock what we call a skill set or skill stacking, where you can start to stack a number of skills together to become a real master in any space where you put that effort to. It's a real great tool that will enable you to make meaningful, lasting changes in your world, but also in the world of people around you as well. So with that, I'm going to get into what I call the first peak, and that's self-reputation. So this is the mirror through which we view ourselves in the world, and it's really reflecting our innermost perceptions, our beliefs, our values, whether they're positive or negative. It's the story that you tell yourself of who you are, shaped by the experiences, the thoughts that you've had throughout your life, and any actions that you've taken as well. And this internal narrative that you have holds real immense power. It influences not only your self-esteem and confidence, but also your overall ability to face challenges and opportunities within your life, which are completely inevitable. None of us can get away from that. So importantly, we can consciously and unconsciously shape our self-reputation by the way that we lay the foundation for a strong level of mental fitness, by enabling us to navigate the complexities of our lives and really, I guess, face it with confidence and courage. So when we get onto this first peak, we're looking at self-reputation, and it represents not just a static state of being, but a real dynamic journey of achieving what I would call peak mental fitness. It's the journey of an ongoing process of self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-improvement, which requires constant effort, introspection, but also adaptation. So you've got to remain dynamic. It's really the backbone of what I call mental fitness. And like muscles, it needs training. So as a peak of mental fitness is achieved through your self-perception that aligns with your values and your actions, which then results, I guess, in a harmonious and empowered state of being within yourself. Having this alignment really fosters a strong sense of self-efficacy, resilience, but also of well-being. And you become much more able and, I guess, adept at navigating life's ups and downs and maintaining a real emotional balance and pursuing goals with the confidence and determination that we all need to move forward in life. You'll all know from your own experiences, when you're lacking in self-confidence, when you're lacking in what you believe about yourself, things feel way harder. When you've got more confidence and you feel, in this great space, you'll attack anything. You'll just go for it and you'll do it. So that's what this self-reputation part is about, really. So our self-reputation is formed from the stories that we tell ourselves. It's a complete narrative that shapes the identity, the self-esteem, and our actions as well. The stories that are told by the person that we speak to the most. And if I ask most of you who's the person you speak to the most, 9 times out of 10 people will tell me it's their partner, their friends, their family, whatever. But actually the person you speak to is yourself, right? That's the person you speak to the most. And that's your internal dialogue. It's the thoughts that you have. It's the beliefs that run through your mind on a daily basis and influenced by all of your experiences, your relationships, your interactions, your successes, your failures. They really form a powerful lens through which we perceive ourselves, and also we believe in our own capabilities, which significantly impact our mental fitness. So it's not just the positive, as I mentioned, it's the negative, and that has a bigger impact. It's the things that you said you would do and you did, but also the things that you said you would do and you didn't. So each thing that you don't follow through on actually damages the evidence that you build to have on your own self-confidence or your self-reputation. It's the workout that you said you were going to go and do at 6 a.m. that you promised yourself you would do, but you never did. It's the course that you said you'd finally finish and you still haven't got to it, even though you're maybe 80% of the way through. It's it's that diet that you said you'd start on a Monday, but you still haven't. It's that relationship that you said you'd fix, but you still didn't. Each of those stories that you tell yourself, and every time you do it, damages your self-belief and your self-reputation, and that has a bigger impact on it. So I'd ask you here, what are the stories that you're telling yourselves? And it'd be really great if you can write in the chat just a one or two sentences about what's the number one story that you're telling yourself, the strongest belief you have about yourself, positive or negative. If people can start dropping them in the chat, we won't highlight people, we'll get you to talk about it, but it's just really great to see. Additionally as well, there's a tool that I want to give you guys here, which I think is a great tool. And a lot of you no doubt have heard about journaling. So journaling is a really powerful tool, especially in the mental space, but we always frame journaling in a positive way, and using it for, gratitude is a really popular one at the moment. But actually, I like to flip it. And one of the tools which I want to give you guys is something that I call excuse journaling. And it's about when you tell yourself you're going to do something, 9 times out of 10, if you don't do it, you've created an excuse in your mind that isn't really an excuse. It's just something you've come up with to stop you facing that level of resistance. You're taking that path of least resistance. So when you have those moments, when you create those excuses, journal those. Write down that excuse. So excuse journaling. When you get to a point that, I haven't got time today, I haven't got enough money, oh, I'm too tired, I'm too hungry, whatever it is, that's all excuses. Write them down, because then you can start to build a body of evidence which gives you a pattern. And when you start to recognize these patterns in yourselves, it becomes much easier to combat them. And you can actually start to realize that you're able to find a way to break these patterns. You can't break patterns until you recognize them. So that's a really good and useful tool that I would like to just give to you guys to look at and to learn. So we're not going to go too deep on all of this today. We could do tons of it and I could go for hours, but we're going to keep it quite short and high level to hope you give you guys some value. So that's the first peak on this journey that we've hit today, is self-reputation. The next one is resilience. So I mentioned resilience at the beginning. And resilience is simply, it's the ability to bounce back from changes and setbacks that you're going to face in your life with adversity and with strength. It's a real crucial aspect of mental well-being, and it enables us as individuals to navigate through life's inevitable ups and downs without feeling overwhelmed or completely debilitated. So we're not able to do anything, or we get paralyzed by fear. Resilience is not actually an innate trait that we all have. It's something that we can actually train. It's a skill. It's something that can be developed, and it can be strengthened over time with practice and persistence. And at its core, resilience involves emotional, psychological, and also behavioral flexibility and adjustment, so that you can move through life in a very dynamic way. But there's a common thing that people say, that mental toughness and resilience are very similar. But actually, mental toughness and resilience are kind of what I would say two sides of the same coin, each with its own significance to you as an individual. But to put it simply, and the way I always explain it to people, is mental toughness is to thrive, resilience is to survive. So mental toughness is to push through and do the things that you want for success in your career and moving forward in that respect. Resilience is to face adversity, to face challenge, and to face things that are much more difficult that we face in life, whether that's, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, feeling a lack of purpose, a lack of direction. Resilience is to push through that. So mental toughness, they are two essential qualities that we all need. Mental toughness it drives you to thrive and set high standards, whereas resilience equips you to survive, adapt, and be dynamic and keep moving forward when faced with adversity in life, which, like I say, we're all going to face. By balance,
can I jump in there for a second, Aaron? Just with these the two terms here, which I do very much like. Is it then? Would you frame it that maybe resilience, like learning that you are resilient, because we do survive. All of us here are surviving, in life or in any other realm that we're, trying to thrive in. Maybe the minimum requirement in anything that you jump into is surviving, number one. And once I'll take myself as an example. If I recognize that I am resilient enough to survive, could that help my confidence in my mental toughness, which will then help me thrive?
It can do, absolutely. But it does depend on, I guess, the context. So if you're facing a challenge and you're just being resilient and you're pushing through and you're just about surviving, that's not going to give you confidence to build mental toughness, because mental toughness is about excelling and exceeding. If you're using resilience as a foundation and building on it from there, you're creating building blocks and a foundation to create more and more over time, and then leading towards mental toughness, then it's going to give you that evidence and confidence to move forward.
So thinking of survival is not like surviving as the bare minimum, but also growth within survival.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's always room for growth within that survival, definitely.
Amazing, yeah.
Cool. So within that then, so just to, I guess, expand it out a little bit more, resilience has a number of pillars. So I'm just going to go through these quite quickly. But the first pillar is emotional and psychological well-being, really kind of emphasizing the importance of your mental health and maintaining a positive emotional state. The second one is around about self-management. So self-management focuses on the ability to effectively manage your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and your actions. But also about self-management skills, including discipline and time management, but also the capacity to regulate your emotions, getting into that emotional intelligence state as well. The third pillar is looking at social support and connection. So social support and connection is really important when it comes to, I guess, building and maintaining strong, supportive relationships, which are crucial for resilience. Relationship building is a key thing in mental toughness, mental resilience, and mental fitness overall. And this pillar really highlights the role of social connections that provide emotional support for us, but also practical help and a sense of belonging too. As humans, tribally, we are tribal creatures. We are social animals. So it provides a really strong foundation for that. And then the fourth pillar is more about purpose and meaning. So having a high sense of meaning and purpose in your life contributes to resilience by providing direction, motivation, but also a reason to overcome obstacles. It's really a pillar that involves pursuing your goals, but also looking at activities which are personally meaningful to you, but also contribute to a larger cause. I could get a little bit into significance versus contribution as well, because that's a whole nother thing, but we're going to be short on time if I get into that. But look up the 6 basic human needs and specifically look at significance and contribution, and you'll start to understand where in your life you've craved significance and where you've craved contribution, and how it varies and the difference and impact it has on you. It's honestly fascinating to understand it about yourself. I think an important thing to give you guys as well is some resilience tools. So how can you become more resilient? How can you improve your level of resilience? So because resilience is a skill that can be developed and strengthened over time, you really have an opportunity to equip yourself or your clients, friends, family with a tool that enhances your life, to be honest. So within this, there are 5 key tools for resilience, which I call the resilience tools or resilience toolkits. And the first one is reframing. So reframing is about changing the way that we perceive and interpret challenging situations. It's about really shifting from a negative mindset to a more positive and constructive perspective. A good example, I guess, is if you're a personal trainer, you encourage your clients to reframe their fitness setbacks as opportunities for growth. If they've got injured, or if they're lacking in something, or they're struggling to do something. Injury is probably a really good one for reframing. Or even missing a workout can be reframed as a chance to rest and recover, because most of us don't take the time to rest and recover and get sleep, or actually take that time to sit back and not do much. The next tool is about controlling the controllables. So controlling the controllables is more about just understanding what you can and what you can't control. Too often we get caught up in trying to control things that we have zero control over in our lives, and things that impact us. And we waste a lot of time and energy and cognitive ability in focusing on things that are out of our control. Whereas actually, if you take a step back and analyze what you can control and only focus on those aspects, you'll get much more fulfillment, much more engagement, but also you'll optimize things a lot better for yourself within your life and what you're looking to do. Another tool, which I love, is forcing failure. So forcing failure is purely exactly what it says. It's about finding failure and forcing it. It's about pushing yourself to boundaries. It's about encouraging failure. Failure is a tool which essentially is intentionally challenging yourself to face adversity and to learn from it. It's about embracing setbacks and seeing them as lessons. It's the lessons learned from lives that we have in day-to-day goals. pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, finding new challenges, whether that's a fitness goal, whether it's a personal goal, a financial goal, forcing yourself, and even failure within that goal is an opportunity for growth. Failure doesn't really exist. Failure is just growth. It's the next step. It's the next thing that you can go and do when you're looking at continuously seeking opportunities for development, personal and professional, taking on new challenges, refining your skills, and building to significant professional and personal growth as well. The next tool is around about stress management. So stress is something that we all suffer with hugely from time to time. And I think in the UK at the minute, the statistics around stress are huge. Around about 74% of the population suffers with stress on a regular basis, and very few people are managing it effectively. But doing that is crucial for resilience, because stress management can include things like breath work, meditation, exercise is a great opportunity for stress management. You can look at different ways of encouraging people to get out and just take breaks, take rest. And that doesn't have to be sleep. It doesn't have to be sitting down and doing nothing. Rest from stress management can actually be about just finding time to do things that you enjoy. Actually spending time doing things that you enjoy and engaging in activities or friendships or social circles is actually great rest for your brain, and it gives an opportunity to review and reframe things in a slightly different way too. And then we got the last one, which is seeking support. So seeking support is about reaching out for help and building a strong supportive network, which is really vital, I guess, for components of resilience or building resilience. Whether that's, confiding in a friend, seeking professional help through counseling or therapy, joining a support group, sharing experiences with others, whether that be anonymously or in a circle where you can be vulnerable. All of these things provide a great sense of being understood and feeling supported, which are really great tools for improving and building resilience for you over time. So that's that milestone done on this journey. That's resilience covered. Again, it's a quick stop, but it's hopefully adding value. The next stop on the journey is purpose, and it's the third and final pillar. And I want to give enough time for anyone to ask any questions afterwards. So I'm trying to get through this as quick as we can. But purpose is something that is completely and deeply ingrained in every single one of us, and it gives us direction in life. It gives us meaning. It's really that kind of North Star that guides you to decisions, actions, priorities, and offers a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. Having a sense of purpose, it really transcends mere day-to-day tasks or goals. It's about connecting with something larger than yourself. And 9 times out of 10, that comes down to contribution. I mentioned contribution earlier, and that's a really important point, because contribution is huge. And that can be contributing to a community, excelling in your career, to nurturing your family, looking at personal passions as well. And purpose actually fuels resilience, and it enhances your mental fitness overall. It's one of the key peaks or pillars of mental fitness overall. It's also linked to a host of psychological benefits, like improved well-being, lower stress levels, but also increased lifespan. Having a sense of purpose is actually shown in studies now to increase lifespan and help people live longer, because they have something to live for. We've all heard that saying of having something to live for, but it's true, scientifically shown as well. So within this, purpose fit does really form a foundational pillar or peak of mental fitness, as it combines, I guess, life with meaning, with direction, with motivation, which are all crucial for your overall psychological well-being. Purpose overall really does provide clarity, focus, motivation, and persistence. It also enhances your emotional well-being and your emotional intelligence, but it also contributes to your overall levels of physical health too. So purpose plays a huge role in our lives. And there is what I would call a lack of purpose epidemic at the moment. There is so many people, especially I guess in the 20 to 35 kind of age group, who are lacking purpose, who are lacking direction, and they feel lost, they feel depressed, they feel anxious, they feel worried. And for me, it's one of the biggest problems in today's society that we're struggling with, and that people need the most help with. So next, I want to kind of give you guys a bit of a framework for purpose and ask you to look at this as well, and where you are today in your life. So meaning versus success. So when we look at meaning and fulfillment and emptiness versus failure and success, there's different areas of life that we can all be in. So you've got your sacrificial life, you have your ideal life, you've got your shallow life, and you've also got your wasted life. So generally speaking, our lives will fall into one of these 4 quadrants at any given time, and they're likely to change at different stages of our lives too. Before we can really start to train our mental fitness and improve our mental fitness, we really need to understand what's driving us, what's our driving force. And understanding where you are today will help you to identify your drive and your purpose and your passion, but it will also provide you with clarity for the route forward as well. So just a quick summary of each of these, just so you guys are clear on what each quadrant actually means. So the ideal life is pretty simple. It's characterized by being in something that you feel is successful, but also in pursuit of your own mission as well. So you feel fulfilled and you're in your success. Whether that's financial success, whether that's career success, that's subjective. Success is different to each and every one of us. But if you feel like you're successful and you're feeling fulfilled, you're in the ideal life quadrant. A shallow life is where you have success as determined by society. So maybe it's just financial gain, but it really lacks any fulfillment. Maybe you're getting paid really well for a job, but you don't actually enjoy it, for example. People who generally pursue money, power, and wealth can only normally achieve a shallow life at best. A wasted life is often filled with failure, but also a lack of fulfillment. This is the area where most people who are in this space fall into, depression and needing clinical help from psychiatrists or therapists, or they're in a really deep, dark phase of their life and they need some support to get out. And then where a sacrificial life, this is a little bit of a strange one because it has high levels of fulfillment, but low levels of success, as deemed by you as an individual. As I said, success is subjective. So let's say you might be doing a job that you find is really fulfilling, really engaging, and you really enjoy, but you might be being paid really poorly if that's your idea of success. So with this framework, I want everyone just to maybe take a minute to reflect and understand where each of you are on this framework. And if you want to drop it in the chat, feel free. But Danny, I want to ask you quickly. You've been in different areas of life and transitioning through different phases. I know you've probably been in different areas too. But where do you feel like you are today?
So first of all, for full transparency to everyone, I did see the presentation before, but I did not see the presentation slide with your explanation around it. So it was very helpful for me, and the answer that I'm constructing now in my head was listening to you kind of put those stages together, because like the failure and meaning, which can equal the sacrificial life, is one that I think that I spent a lot of my teenage years at, because my life was dedicated to to football, soccer, becoming a professional soccer athlete. So for me, being on success all the way to the right was playing for Manchester United or getting signed by Manchester United. So anything that wasn't on the way there was deemed failure. But the meaning was there because, I enjoyed every second of training, and I enjoyed the anything that was involved in trying to get to Manchester United. So you helped me kind of nail that corner. Today, I think I juggle around all 4 of them. And I think that the one maybe that I enter the least is wasted life. I think I do everything I can to avoid it. I think I'm very good at realizing when I'm getting close to it, and my anxiety levels spike when I'm getting close to it. So I think I'm very lucky that I don't allow myself to fall in that bottom left pit. But in terms of the shallow, ideal, and sacrificial, I feel like it's very dynamic. So, and stop me if my answer is too evasive, but I feel like it's very dynamic, and that the driving forces. So I don't know if that correlates specifically with purpose, but for me at least, the driving force is up. The driving force is up towards meaning and fulfillment, and then it's almost like. And it's how I think and operate. It's whether it's if I get to Manchester United or not, it'll take me left or right. But I'm going up towards meaning, and that pushing up, regardless if it takes me to sacrificial or ideal, keeps me with it keeps me at bay, because it keeps me away from that lower half of the axis, the wasted and shallow. So I don't know if that's a good answer, but up is my answer, and left and right is probably I'm assuming, going to be dynamic.
Yes, absolutely. And you're right about you can be even dynamic between all four. And well, we all have moments of probably feeling like, you're wasting your time doing something, or you're not really enjoying something, you don't want to be doing it, and you can maybe be slipping into that wasted life quite easily. But I think you're absolutely right about being on the upper side of the center axis in sacrificial and ideal. Or if you're working towards meaning or fulfillment and purpose, then the success levels will vary. Especially if you're working for yourself, you have your own business, practice, whatever it's going to be, you're going to always be somewhere on that failure and success line that's going to be dynamic and varying, right? But
Can I throw the question back at you?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So in terms of where
the same one, where you are today, and maybe like how you would answer that question, because I think it's maybe helpful, maybe to understand like how does one answer that question, because it is a difficult question to answer.
It's a difficult question because it requires a level of vulnerability, and that's what most people feel uncomfortable with. Whereas I can sit here and say I'm in my ideal life or everything else, and we'll get to that in a minute, but my life, like everyone else's, has been a journey, right? And I've been in places where I felt like I've been in a wasted life, 100%. I've been in areas where more so I felt like I was in a shallow life. I had a long period of time where I was working in a corporate job. I was getting paid really well, making great money, supporting my family, looking after things, doing things that I felt like I should have to do, and society makes you feel like you need to do. But I was doing something that wasn't fulfilling to me. And it left me feeling empty. So I was 100% in that shallow life phase for quite a long time. On the journey of starting a business, very much in the meaning and fulfillment sectors, but felt like a failure because making no money. At the start of creating a business, you're not making any money, you're not being paid anything. So sacrificial life was 100% there. And it's slowly built over time, when you get to that point. And now I'm probably on the border, like I'd say I'm bang in the middle of the upper axis between sacrificial and ideal. I'm at the point where I'm living a really fulfilling and really meaningful life, doing work like this, the education that we provide, the courses that we build, the people that we're working with. We've got around about 4,000 people on our courses at the moment, so huge numbers of people. So there's some fantastic work there, which makes me feel fantastic in terms of meaning and fulfillment. But then my own personal goals of success are completely different. So it's always going to be hard for me to get to that because I'm always chasing something new. For me, it's always about the journey, not the destination. The destination may be to have a multi-million-pound business in the future, but that when I get to that multi-million, it'll become, well, now I want it to be multi-billion, whatever. So, for me, I'm always chasing that. So I'm always going to be very varying between sacrificial and ideal.
So a question came in. So is this a good time to throw it at you, Aaron?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's only kind of one more slide. I can cover that and then come to questions. And
Great. So let's finish off the presentation, and then we can
okay.
We'll read out the next question here.
Cool. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the third peak as well. But as a summary, that we've kind of been on a journey, right? We've covered the 3 peaks, but we've actually built a model that we can all use in everyday life. We start to understand, and as a key reminder, while you take time to climb the peaks, the way down and the way off of these peaks happens much, much quicker. So it's really important to understand where you are on your journey, but also to actually look at what's happening in your life, because it's way faster to destroy something than it is to build it. And that's true in so many spaces of life, right? You can destroy something way quicker than you can build it, whether that's a relationship, a friendship, a job. You can get fired for stupid reasons, but it takes ages to get to that position. Whether it's actually physically destroying something, it's way quicker to do than it is to build it, create it, or make it. And we'll all go through different stages of our lives where you're on the ascent towards the peak, and then you're also on a descent as well. You're going to go down at some point. It's inevitable. You're going to be tried, you're going to be tested, you're going to face challenges too. But it's important just to recognize that and to understand that you can get back up the hill. You can reclimb the peak. And having that ability to reflect and to recognize will give you much more power and, I guess, self-ability to control this at kind of any given time of your life as well. And essentially, that brings us to the end of the journey for those kind of peaks through mental fitness. And yeah, I guess move to some questions. I'm more than happy to answer some questions off the back of this.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for that, Aaron. That was really, really great. So the first question that came in a couple minutes ago from a PT, Jordi Frigola. So he's saying that when my clients have a purpose which is very specific, like losing 10 kilograms of body fat, after they reach their goal, they lose that purpose. So is it better as a PT, as a physical therapist, to try and modulate the client's purpose so that his narrative can change with education, and I guess education meaning on being on that journey? So does the narrative change as the journey progresses as well?
It does, yeah. So as the journey moves forward, that narrative is going to change, right? If you hit that goal of losing 10 kilos, great. What's next? You know, there's always that, and that's where you lose purpose and lose drive. But I would actually take it back a step. So rather than being at the point where, you know, your client's coming to you with what they say is their purpose, I want to lose 10 kilos of body fat, and then they reach their goal, actually start to understand what was the reason for wanting to lose 10 kilos, because that's the real purpose. When you start to dig into the issue, you know, when it comes to clients and personal trainers, 9 times out of 10, a client will come to you with what is a surface level issue. They'll start to present something where they say, you know, I want to lose weight. Okay, great. And most trainers at that point will just hand over a training plan, a nutrition plan, and let them get on with it. But actually, if you start to dig into the cause rather than treating the symptom, then you find what their real purpose is. So an easy example is, you know, someone comes to you and says, I want to lose weight. Okay, well, why is that? Ask them why. And there's a tool called the 5 whys or the 7 whys, depending which one you want to use. But essentially just asking why and reframing it slightly differently between 5 to 7 times will get you to the real root cause of the purpose. So an easy example, I want to lose weight. Well, why is that? I don't feel good about myself. Okay, well, why don't you feel good about yourself? Because I've been overweight for a long time, and, you know, I can't do the things that I used to be able to do. So what is it you're looking for? Why are you looking to make a change? Well, I want to be around longer for my kids. I want to live longer. I want to have this, you know, be around for them and support them and have longevity in my life. And why is that? And you keep pushing and probing, and actually you can get to a point where you say, okay, well, your goal isn't to lose 10 kilos. Your goal is actually to have longevity in your life and look after yourself and your family and provide a stable environment for them. So then you start to actually understand that your goal isn't losing 10 kilos. Your goal is providing a foundation of life moving forwards where you can start to provide real value rather than just treating a symptom and a surface level issue that someone's come to you. So that's probably the way I would frame it, is take it back a step, really actually understand their purpose. Don't just take it as a given when someone presents their issue to you at the beginning. You know, the amount of coaching and mentoring that I do over the years, and even in the sporting world, I've been a coach as well. You know, there's so many people who come to you with a surface level issue, and it's when they get comfortable and get willing to be more vulnerable that you start to find the real problem. And there's always something deeper.
So does one as like a PT client relationship or personal trainer client relationship, so does one take that superficial goal and kind of just keep it there in their back pocket, not confront the goal, not just take the time to build trust and understand what's sitting below it?
Absolutely, because it will take time and it's different for everyone.
Because it's very easy. Like, you can now, let's say we watch this presentation, you know, where I go to train someone and that person tells me I want 10 kilograms. I'm like, no, wrong. Or why?
100%. You have to build trust, right? And you have to build that level of trust and rapport. And if you're in this industry, especially as a personal trainer, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're pretty good with people. You're a people person. You're in this industry to help people. Yeah, I don't know many personal trainers who aren't in the business. They are because they dislike people. They're not, you know, they're antisocial, whatever. They're not in this space if they're in people. So likelihood is you'll be able to build trust, rapport, and connection quite quickly, and you'll know when that is. You know, you have your initial client integration or initial meeting with them where they start to tell you what their goals are or what they're looking for, and great, listen to them. You know, active listening is a great tool to have, and listen to what they're saying. No harm in challenging them and pushing them on it. If someone's willing to open up from asking them why once, I think that's no problem. If someone says, I want to lose 10 kilos, if you just say, well, why is that? If they open up, great. If they don't, give them a little bit of time. Give them a little bit of space.
We have another question that came in. What would you, this is a deep one, Aaron, what would you say to someone that is living in that shallow life of the axis, but is afraid of taking the risky steps to move their life to be more aligned with his or her purpose and meaning, but the fear and the risk is because of a fear of the potential consequences of trying to move up the axis?
That's a really, really common one, to be honest. It's a really common question. And it's one that I think majority of people have found themselves in at some point, myself included. So, as I said, I spent a majority of time in that shadow life, earning great money and, in a corporate job, but unfulfilled, not doing what I enjoyed doing. And transitioning away from that is extremely difficult. It's not an easy thing to do because we've all got responsibilities. We've all got bills. You may have families, children, people to provide for. You need to earn money. And taking that dive into something head first and just letting go of everything, burn the bridges, as people call it, isn't always the best strategy for everybody. For some people, it may work, and you have to, analyze your situation and circumstance to understand if that's something that you can and you are willing to do. But for most of us in the real world, actually, it's about almost like dipping your toe in the water, right? Finding ways to build over time. How can you get involved in something that you have a passion project for? If it's about starting your own business or changing careers, how can you learn about it and get education and do different things to get you on that right path? It's about gaining experience, talking to people, making sure that you're on that journey and slowly transitioning. There's ways to do it, but it's going to take time. But it's also going to take more investment of you in terms of your own time, personal time. You're going to lose free time, to be honest, because there's only so many hours in the day. You may even impact relationships. You may impact friendships. It's a season of life. And I talk about life as a season that was, there's 4 seasons of life generally that follow, I guess, what you'd call our actual physical environmental seasons that we have in the world. And it's about building, right? If you want to build something new to get to that spring and that summer or that even that autumn season where you're really reaping the rewards of what you've been working towards, you have to make a sacrifice at some point. But it's not about just jumping straight in, which everyone tells you should do. There's so many things out there at the minute, which I think are a little bit toxic on social media about you got to just forget everything that you hate and just jump into what you want to do. We've got bills. You got to pay for your house. You got to pay to live. Like in today's world, especially, it's extremely tough. So find ways and strategies to work for you and about, progressively getting yourself in that space. And that's what I did. I progressively did it over time. I didn't, walk out of my job. I took time to build and to move forward progressively. And even for a period of time, have my own business up and running and still doing, other work as well. So I had no hours in the day. I had sleeping 3-4 hours a night if I was lucky. But it's a passion. So you got to look at it and weigh it up for you that way.
So I'm gonna dish something to you a bit outside of the axis that you presented to us, and let me know if this even makes sense, because it is hypothetical, and I'm asking specifically your opinion and belief, not evidence-based. Just for a disclaimer on this question. Have you met or worked with people that maybe don't have a purpose and are not working upwards towards meaning, but are also, they don't fall towards a shallow or what was the other one? Shallow and wasted life, but still they're not, there's no meaning and there's no purpose. Does that person exist out there?
Then people do exist, and the world needs those people, because there's many different jobs and roles in life that we need that requires people in that space. We need retail workers, we need delivery drivers, we need people who probably don't enjoy their job, but they're doing it, but they're happy because they're making a wage. But then you start to look at what is their actual purpose in life. And with most of them people in that space, you'll find that their true purpose is just about spending time with their family. It's about being able to provide something of some level of security, a regular income, and looking at it from that perspective. So when you reframe it, actually, you could probably put them in there, maybe even in their ideal life, because their idea of success is different. And as I mentioned, success is subjective.
Even the way I'm asking the question is subjective towards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's completely subjective. We all have different ideas of success. Some people is money, some people is personal, some people is family, some people is education. It varies massively. And that's the unique beauty of being human, right? We all have these different ideas and perspectives and way of doing things. And I love questions like this, because working with so many people in what we do and what I do specifically, I am mostly working with people who are driven, who either have a purpose or trying to find a purpose in life. But there are people out there who are completely happy and complacent in that space and just going to work, earning an income, going home, spending time with their family. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
One more thing I want to throw at you. because we skimmed over it, but I want to understand it better, is the significance versus contribution.
Absolutely, sure. So I didn't put this in the presentation because it's something that takes a long time to go through. But there are, you know, a number of basic human needs, right? And significance and contribution are two that all of us can relate to in some way. And I'll give you a personal example from myself.
Are they? But is it significant? Are they both? Do they go hand in hand? That's why you bring them up, or are they two separate?
No, they
Okay.
they can go hand in hand. They can be completely separate too. So to give you an example from myself, when I was younger, in my, I guess, more like career, professional days, even my athlete days, I was more focused on significance. I wanted to feel a level of importance, a level of validation, a level of doing something that, you know, made me look great, for example. And, you know, there's many people in this space. There are people who are in that space. We'll all know someone who's in that space of life where they're doing something to get validation from others or trying to look good in front of other people. And, you know, I can be open and vulnerable and say I've certainly been there in life. But as you grow and as you go through seasons, challenges, you know, education, learning, experience in life, you move into a different perspective. And for me now, you know, my idea of success is about contribution. So if you want to get me to do something, tell me how it's going to impact the people that I'm talking to or that I'm engaging with. Tell me how it's going to help someone else. Tell me how it's going to help you as an individual. I don't care what getting paid, if at all. I don't care what time it's going to cost or anything else. If it's something that's going to contribute towards someone and help somebody on their journey, then I'm all for it. I'm there because my purpose in life now is purely about contribution. So I want to contribute to as many people as possible in the biggest way possible, which is why, you know, having the businesses that I do and helping, you know, thousands of people all over the UK and soon to be globally, that what we do is massively impactful for me. And I have no care about the level of significance that holds. I mean, I barely even share and talk to people about what I'm doing and where I'm doing it. Whereas if I have a conversation with someone for 10 minutes and they ask me, there's tons of stuff which I could be talking about and shouting about from the rooftops. But to be honest, I hardly do. Because for me, that level of success is about the contribution that's internal to me. I don't need the validation from others or the pat on the back from someone to say, well done. For me now, it's about how can I impact and help as many people as possible. And that's how I'd always frame the difference between significance and contribution.
Last question, and maybe the most fun one of the presentation. From all the books that you have to your right over there, is there one that you would recommend the audience if it's in connection to the topic or not? And it's a real question that came in from the audience.
I've got these books here and I've got a ton more over there. I've got so many books and a lot of them I've never even read because I do audiobooks. But the one here, let's see, what's here? So there's two, maybe actually three that I would recommend. There is Surrounded by Idiots, which is about our different personality types and different personality colors and how we connect and contribute and how we interact with them. There's Black Box Thinking, which is about, you know, looking at the way that you think and the way you approach things and how you, I guess, overall achieve things. And then the last one, which I found was really impactful, is actually Stephen Bartlett's new one, The Diary of a CEO, the one that's on the bottom down here. The 33 laws that he's got in there as well, which are super interesting and really good. So that's another really
very good podcast as well.
Yeah, great podcast. Yeah. I actually went to see his live show last week. So he's doing a live speaking tour all around the world, and I got tickets, and me and a few friends went last week to see him live, and it was a fantastic event. He touches on so many subjects which are really important, especially in life and in business, and how they contribute to each other. But Amazing. If I'm honest, every single one of these books here is great. There's even one about the brain on the top, you know, looking at how we actually use our brain and the science behind it too.
Fantastic. Well, Aaron, I really appreciate it. It was a great presentation. It's definitely a mind stimulator for everyone, right? Because that, you know, I'm sticking to that axis slide because it's what I've been thinking about the last hour. But the fact that it is dynamic just means that none of us reaches a point on the axis where we're good and now we can pass on the information to others because we're all moving around that axis all the time, and we should all be aware of where we are on that axis. And then I guess the people around us that we're trying to tell, whether it's a brother or sister, a mother or father, someone you're training or someone you're trying to fix their back pain. is like they are sitting on their own axis and they're sitting on that bed or in the weight room with you because they're trying to figure it out themselves. So the more, when we work with people, like whether you're a massage therapist or personal trainer or just a teacher in a classroom, whatever it is, you have responsibility because you're demonstrating a level of authority over an individual, and being aware of this, how someone can be, fluctuating on this axis, so can you. But being aware of that person can only help you understand them better, and if you understand them better, it will only help them reach their goals, which are
Absolutely
dynamic anyway.
It all starts with self-awareness. If you don't have that self-awareness and ability to recognize in yourself, you can't recognize in others. So I'd always, recommend to people is learn about yourself as much as you possibly can. Self-reflection, journaling, education, talking, whatever it is, learn about you, and then you can help others in a way more impactful way. Not even just through the experience that you gain, but actually through the level of vulnerability that you're willing to experience, but also push yourself through, because then you can help and guide others on that journey too. As I mentioned, being vulnerable is something that a lot of us really struggle with, and we're not willing to be vulnerable and open up as much. And it is happening more and more, but I can tell you from the work that I do, people are still really resistant to it, and they don't want to take that path because it does create friction, it does create resistance.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Aaron Ridley, thank you very much. Mental fitness.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Until the next time, everyone, please stay up to date with our emails to see what our next live class will be. We host one of these every few weeks, at minimum 1 or 2 every month. So please stay up to date. You can visit us on our website at www.neilasher.com to see all of our course offering and education offerings. And then hopefully we also have something of Aaron Ridley on our website as well, of TriBox, that we can pass on to the massage therapists and the personal trainers out there to learn and implement specific and strategic techniques to help yourself manage yourself better and help yourself manage your clients better as well. Aaron, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and I love doing this and adding value. So anytime you want me, you know where I am.
Appreciate it. Until the next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.